Guys, a lot of times when we are looking to grow our businesses or take something new on, we tend to overcomplicate things. It's just human nature. One of the things that we all know, I think a lot of us know that we need to do, and that few of us actually do, is simplify, simplify, simplify. Today's guest on the Nailed It show is my good friend and client, Galen Yoder of RoofX out in Ohio. And he and his team have built a pretty awesome company over the past few years in a very short period of time by keeping things simple and very intentional. Galen, as a leader, as you'll see in this episode, is very intentional with his vision about everything that he does. And it's no coincidence that he's been able to build a company, a very young but very fast-growing company with 22 employees plus subcontractors, and they're just getting started. So I'm excited to bring you this conversation with Galen. We talk about what it took to take a company that his father had started and take over as the second generation owner and innovate a new name, a new brand, a lot of new training and systems, and really a mindset and vision as well. And then we also get into personal development and how that ties into being the leader that you know you need to be, and how that ties into building the business that you want to build according to the vision that you have. So had a lot of fun with this one. The hour flew by really fast for me, so I hope that we can get Galen on another episode of the Nailed It show. But for now, guys, tune in to take some notes and really take action on some of the things that Galen talks about. He's a young business owner and he's wise beyond his years. And I learned a few things that I wrote down here in my notebook that Galen shared with me today. So tune into this episode and enjoy. All right, Galen Yoder, great to have you on, my man. What's going on?
Hey, Joe. It's going great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, looking forward to our conversation and hopefully bring a ton of value to your audience today.
No doubt you will. Yeah, I've enjoyed getting to know you over the past couple of years. And we've been hanging out a little bit more recently. We're out at IRE in Vegas. And now you're in our client group and our community. So it's been awesome to see your journey over the past few years. I know that you're just getting started because you're young. So we're going to dig into some of that. I want to talk about your family business. I want to talk about personal branding and personal development. I want to talk about that cool brand that you have there in the background, RoofX. That looks pretty awesome. And we'll dive into all that. So yeah, give the audience a little bit of just kind of a background. Who is Galen Yoder? What's RoofX? Where are you at?
Yeah, I guess to give you a little bit of a backstory about me personally. So I was actually born here in Ohio. And when I was 4 years old, my family ended up moving out to Missouri. We ended up living out there for about 11 years before we ended up moving back to Ohio to be back closer to family so that we could take care of, our grandparents and things like that. So that's kind of where, kind of what my journey has been, where I've lived. But, talking about the brand RoofX and, our family business, I'm really blessed to be a part of a family business with my dad and my older brother. Yeah, it's not something that everyone gets to experience. So I'm very blessed to have an amazing family, to come from an amazing family, and to do this with them every day.
Really cool. Yeah, you and I are similar in that aspect. I grew up in my family's construction business as well, and working for my dad and my uncles and with my cousins. And it's a really cool opportunity. I know there are challenges to it as well, but really cool opportunity. So did you grow up in that? Like, were you like working in the business at a young age, or tell us about that?
Yes, I did. I grew up, when I was 13, 14 years old, summers when we weren't in school, I would go with my dad to work. Like, that was the only thing I ever knew growing up was, going with him to work. I always looked forward to it. Something that I looked forward to. And, at the time, it was, you never realize how much of a blessing it is until you look back over your life. The things that my dad and my older brothers taught me during that, those young, very impressionable years has been so key to helping us get to where we are at today.
What were some of those things? Because I have some of those things I can share as well. And you're so right. When you're in it, you're so young, you're a teenager, you don't know much about much. And so that's how you kind of grow older. You're like, oh yeah, my dad actually knew what he was talking about. Yeah. Okay. So what were some of those lessons that you picked up early on?
I was thinking about that a little bit. One of some of the biggest things that I've learned from my dad, number one, is just, first of all, how to be a good person. Like, my dad's awesome. I'm very blessed to have the dad that I do. And, when it comes to work, there's no one who has a better work ethic than he does. He taught each one of those boys to have a good work ethic. There was nothing, when we were on a job site, there was absolutely no room for standing around and being lazy and doing nothing. He always told us, he kind of made the joke, when a homeowner comes around, he said, even if you don't know what you're doing, you better act like you know what you're doing and always be doing something and never be standing around when an homeowner or a contractor comes around. So work ethic is a big one. Something else that he taught us and that we've really carried into the growth of our company now is just always doing the right thing. Always do each customer's project as good as if you were doing it on your own house. So just having that mindset and, approach to everything that you do is so important. And another one is it's always easier to do something right the first time. It's always easier to do it right the first time rather than go back and do it over. I can very specifically remember a few times where I learned that the hard way from him. There was times where, you thought you had an easier way to do something and it wasn't quite right. And he made us go back and fix stuff. Things that maybe it wasn't going to affect the performance of the end product, but that was just his standard. That was just the standard that he taught us. Always do it right the first time so you don't have to go back and fix it.
I love that you mentioned, I'm writing notes down here. So if you see me looking down, I just want to jot some of these down because you and I have very similar experiences. And thank you for sharing that. I come from a very awesome family, hardworking work ethic. And by the way, you said like that was one of the most important things he taught you and your brothers is work ethic. And that's so cool. I have an 11-year-old son now and 9-year-old daughter. And that's one of the things we're always talking about. One of the things I want to impart, not just, what I'm talking about, what I'm demonstrating and leading by example. That's so cool. And then the third part, easier the first time, and you had a different way or a new way of doing things. And, your dad's like, no, you might think you have it, a good way, but this is why we do this. We do it for a reason. And my cousin Brian and I grew up in my family's business together. And it's funny, he and I would always come in and be like, yeah, why don't we try to do it this way? And, maybe sometimes we did it that way. And my dad and my uncles would, sometimes correct us or sometimes kind of sit back and just kind of let us make our own mistakes. And then we'd realize the wisdom of experience, right? You were the hotshot young kids thinking that we had it all figured out. And we didn't, right?
Exactly. Yep, that's for sure.
So did you like, once you started working as a teenager, like, did you just continue to work in the business? Did you go do other things? You go to college? Like, what was your journey like?
Yeah, so when I started working with him as a teenager, I ended up, from the background I come from an Amish Mennonite background, the way our school system worked, we just went, we had our own private school system. So I actually ended up just going to 8th grade. I never graduated high school. In our system that we had, high school wasn't a thing. And so when I graduated 8th grade, I went to work full time with him out on the job site, building houses.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. You're a very polished and I think very intelligent young man. So to not go to high school, obviously your parents did a great job bringing you up and educating you, huh?
Yeah, they really did. And the things that you learn, sometimes the things that you learn by just doing things, like doing life, like.
Hey, Nailed It listeners, Sydney here, Marketing Director at Contractor Dynamics, just interrupting for one moment to let you know that at this point in the podcast, Galen, our guest, encountered some technical issues. So at this point, moving forward in the podcast, you'll notice some slight differences in sound and how the interview looks. But I just wanted to interrupt and let you know that would be the case. We hope you continue to enjoy listening.
Because some of the lessons that I learned on the job site were probably more valuable than anything that I could have learned in school. Like, some of the skills that my dad taught me about how a house goes together. Back then we were building houses, we were framing houses, from the ground up. So understanding how all that works together, when you're stick framing a house, you learn some really cool math equations. and you learn a lot of cool stuff in that aspect of it. So those are some of the great lessons that I learned. And the other thing, when you're out on job sites, you always get a chance to interact with customers and contractors and things like that. So you learn people skills. You learn how to interact with people and how to handle those situations correctly.
Very cool. Yeah, especially as a teenager, right? Like you're shy and you're just like, talking to adults is maybe kind of scary. At least I remember that being the case. And again, like our 11-year-old now, it's like a skill that he's developing. Is like, I'm bringing him, he's coming to our event tomorrow, our workshop. And I'm like, you got to talk to adults and look them in the eye when you talk to them. Like those are really good life skills. And yes, that is also one of the biggest lessons that I've learned growing up in the construction industry. And my first job was when I was 14 out in a shipyard in Brooklyn, New York. And was working alongside people from literally all over the world, of different backgrounds and ethnicities and beliefs, and just really taught me a lot of people skills, empathy, just understanding where people come from. It might not be the same background as mine. And I think that's such a valuable skill that has continued to serve me. Again, you don't realize it at the time, but kind of reflecting on that, it's so valuable.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things you look back and you really appreciate the things that you experienced, some aren't.
Absolutely. Awesome, Galen. So there's a lot in the construction industry, and we have a lot of clients that are in a very similar situation where the dad started the business, or the mom or the grandparents started the business, and now someone like myself or yourself is taking over, and that generational transition. And there are always things that go into that, right? There's organization, there's like, how do we transfer the ownership? The logistics of it. Then there's the innovation part, there's the vision, there's the brand, there's the marketing, there's training, there's all these different components of that. And I think we see it a lot. We've seen a lot of it over the past 11 years. And we see a lot of companies do it really well. And then some companies kind of drop the ball. And it seems like RoofX is doing a really good job of that transition. So you could talk about that a little bit more. Is your dad still in the business, or is it you and your brothers now? Or like, what does it look like now?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of a backstory on how this all came into fruition. So in 2018, I was 20 years old. That was kind of when I started taking an interest in like, hey, we've got a construction crew here, we're doing work. Like, how can we, I always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit in me. Like I wanted to do something bigger, I guess. So in 2018 is kind of when, I was 20 years old. That's when I took, the original company name was Yoder Construction. From 2003 when he started to 2018, like we didn't even have a logo. Like we just had the Yoder Construction name. That was pretty much it. We did a good job. People heard about us and, called them up. 2018, I kind of got this urge to like, man, I want to start, I want to sell some jobs too, but we didn't really have, leads coming in other than just people calling him randomly. So I ended up going out. I got like 2 yard signs made. Got a little logo design on a free design website, got 2 yard signs made. And I started setting them out in like intersections. I would like leave them there for a couple of days. And since I only had 2 of them, I would go pick them up and then I'll move them to a new intersection, like, keep them spinning. And just started looking for leads. I got some leads on Facebook, got some off of yard signs. And when it came the time to, that I sold my first job, Dad helped me get the material list together and I wrote up the little proposal, and we ended up losing money on the job. It was very heartbreaking. After I made my first sale, my dad and my brother, they were always very encouraging. They were like, they didn't get mad at me. They were like, well, we'll just move on to the next one, and keep going. And then in 2018, we ended up having a pretty good year in 2018. 2019 is when my dad let me and my older brother each buy a share of the company. So we each bought a third of the company. So we were equal partners, and that's still how we are today currently. But in 2019, we ended up rebranding to Yoder Building Solutions LLC, and we actually had a graphic designer, create us a real logo and website and that sort of thing. And then in 2022, so we operated like that for a couple of years, kept on growing. And in 2022, we made the decision to rebrand as RoofX and started building a team and really grown in leaps and bounds over the last couple of years now.
Wow, that's cool. Couple things there, Galen. So 2018, you had this itch to make some yard signs, go out there, sell some jobs, and kind of create something that didn't currently exist in the company. What was that in you? And like, why weren't you just content to kind of follow in your dad's footsteps and just continue to do what he did?
That's a good question. I think the thing that kind of spurred that for me at that point in time, I was introduced to like Grant Cardone, back when Grant Cardone released, his 10X stuff. He was always talking about sales, talking about business and that sort of thing. That's really what my eyes were kind of open to, there's other things that, are out there other than just, building a house and doing that. So that's kind of what gave me the itch to, start selling something and kind of start, I guess, really thinking back now, it was just more of a 10X mindset, really, is what it was.
Awesome. So you started reading, started consuming content, and your world was expanded beyond your upbringing. That's really cool. Was that met with any resistance, or was your dad like, yeah, man, go for it, see what you can create there?
There was, there was never a lot of resistance. He was always, since I wasn't necessarily taking, basically what I was doing was just adding to what he was doing. So there was never a lot of resistance about, trying to hold me back from doing that. He was always very, very supportive and helpful when it came to, doing things. Dad's vision with his construction company was never to grow a big company. What his vision was, I'm the youngest of 5 boys. His vision had been, he wanted to have a company that he can work with each one of his boys as they grow up and as they, get older. So for, many years, there was, we had a great construction crew with just as family members.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really cool. So he created that vision and he lived that vision out, huh?
He did. He really did. And he really did a great job at that, and really lived out the purpose that that was his vision for the company, was to put us, provide something for us boys to grow in and to provide a good living for us as a family.
Amazing. That's the American dream. I mean, that's what it's all about. I'm sure you don't take it for granted. Like, man, there's a lot of ego in business. There's a lot of ego in humans. We all have some level of ego, and someone in your dad's position, I'm not saying your dad, but someone in your dad's position could just as easily have said like, no, Galen, like, you got to do it my way, and let his ego get in the way of what you and your brothers had for your own visions. And it's really cool that he didn't do that, because there are people that would have.
Yeah, there definitely are a lot of people that would have, that's for sure.
Okay, so you went from Yoder Construction to Yoder Building Solutions, LLC, like official, got the LLC in the name. I get it. Awesome. So that wasn't enough. And then you went to RoofX. What was the thinking behind that? Because as you know, I'm a brand guy, love brands. I believe you are too. So let's jam on that for a little bit.
In 2021, we hired our first business coach. We wanted to start growing. We wanted to, start building a real business. And, one of the things that we had, he brought up, we were trying to focus on being a roofing company, but trying to brand Yoder Building Solutions as a roofing company was not great. Like, we would get calls for, people wanting us to build houses and garages and bars and things like that. And we got tired of getting those phone calls and having to turn people away. So we got our heads together and we're like, hey, what's a name that we could go with that would tell people when they see our name, they know exactly what we do. And something that's, memorable, easy to remember, and, sticks in your head when you see it. And that's what led us to making that switch to RoofX.
Did you guys come up with RoofX, the name, or did that business coach or a marketing company or branding company? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so we just got our heads together and we started just writing out a bunch of names. And, honestly, we talked about this a couple months ago. No one remembers exactly where RoofX came from.
Okay.
Other than somehow I got on that list. It ended up being the one that we stuck on.
Do you think that X is inspired by Grant Cardone, 10X, or anything like that?
It really wasn't. That was never really a part of that equation. I think the X, we were looking for a name that we could have roof and then something like,
Okay.
Yeah. So we ended up we had like Dimitri from Roofing Insights help us with the logo design. And he did help us a little bit throughout the rebranding process as well. But I remember like at that time, there was, one of the brands that was really popular was Roof Tiger. There was, something with roof and then something else after it. And that is, we were kind of looking for something that we could do roof with something after it that's kind of memorable, sticks out, something that you can kind of brand with.
All right. Right on. I love it. So this is a big, you see a lot of questions about this topic I'm about to say in like the, industry Facebook groups and things like that. Do you guys do anything other than roofs?
Well, we do seamless gutters, but other than that's pretty much it.
And that's the vision, to stick with roofs and gutters?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, guys listening, watching, like when you're naming your company, there's some people that like name their company based on whatever domain's available, or because they think that your name will be, come up first in the Google search or something like that. That's like really narrow-minded thinking. It sounds like Galen, I know he does have a vision for the company of what you want to be and who you want to serve and what services you want to offer. So make sure you have that long-term vision. Don't just like name your company based on like where you're at now, but name your company like Galen did, like based on where you're looking to go and what services you're going to provide. And I think a lot of people listening and watching this will say, well, that limits you, right? Because now you're not going to get calls for siding or windows or doors or, whatever else you might want to throw out there. And man, I'm a fan of niching down and focusing instead of trying to be everything to everyone. Was there any of that conversation that went into your guys kind of brainstorming on who you want to be? Like, is RoofX going to be too limiting or like that sort of thing?
So we had that conversation back when we changed to Yoder Building Solutions. So when we changed to Yoder Building Solutions, our goal back then was to be focused on roofing, but we were scared to go just into roofing because what if there's not enough work out there for that? So by the time it came to rebranding to RoofX, we were all in on that niche market and we're all in on roofing at that point in time.
How'd you overcome that fear, that scarcity mindset?
It was just, I think the biggest thing was we saw how much success we had with Yoder Building Solutions. I mean, we were solely a roofing company with that name, and we knew if we went to something that was just roofing related, it would even help us a lot more.
Okay. At that point, you guys were not worried about like, oh, what if there's not enough roofs or?
No, at that point in time, like we knew if we can do what we did with Yoder Building Solutions, there was no doubt in our mind that we could accomplish our vision with RoofX.
No doubt. I love that. You have the vision. You have no doubt mentality. Burn the ships. We're not looking back. We're going forward. Like that. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but like that level of conviction is so crucial to building something awesome. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there, you kind of got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're not sure. And then you see like some other, company in your market starting to offer solar or do, they're starting to do siding or whatever. And you kind of like jump from thing to thing, not you, but like a lot of people jump around from different ideas and they never commit. And that's why they don't get traction. They might be an inch deep in 5 different areas, but they're not going really deep on like roofing in one area, which what I believe that's how you see success. A lot of people we've had on this show, we've had a lot of companies on, very successful roofing and contracting company owners, some of the biggest guys in the country we've had on this show, and most of them are a fan of just focusing. So for you guys watching or listening, like I'm not talking to you, Galen, because you get it, but a lot of folks in the audience, you're trying to think about like, hey, what should I do? I recommend focusing and niching down and going all in on that and being known for that thing, because when it comes to marketing, branding, when it comes to generating customers, becoming 5 Mile famous, you want to be famous for one thing. And you want to be top of mind with everyone in your market. And everyone knows, or everyone will know sooner than later, that if you need a roof in that market, then call RoofX because they're the guys you got to call. So I love that you have that conviction, man. I don't know if you've ever given it that much thought.
Yeah, no, not really. It was just one of those things like I just when once you know, and you just go all in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. All in. All right, cool. So I want to transition over into like personal development a little bit. But before I do that, I want to talk about going all in, talk about your vision, kind of where you're at now, share whatever you want. You don't have to get into numbers and dollars or anything like that, but like give us a snapshot of what RoofX is now and where you guys are going.
Yeah, so currently we have a team of about 20, I think it's 22 team members, plus our, subcontractors and as well on top of that. So our team has really grown over the last couple of years. Last year we served around 450 to 500 homeowners. So, we've been able to serve a lot of people in the community. And, our long-term vision as a company is to be, have multiple locations throughout the state of Ohio, and to be serving thousands of homeowners as well with that.
Awesome, man. I don't know if you know, I'm sure you do because you're very intentional, but the way that you answer that you've been able to serve 450 to 500 homeowners last year, that's awesome. Because and nothing wrong with it, right? Most company owners will say like, yeah, we did, X million last year and we want to do X million next year. And that's cool. But the way that you worded that shows where your focus is. And I'm sure that was intentional, huh?
Yeah. And so the reason we're very intentional about the language we use here at our company, our purpose at RoofX is to be more than just a company. And that's in our mission statement. We're here as a company for a bigger purpose. We're here to make a difference in the community and to make a difference in the lives of each one of our team members. So we look at, our big KPI that we like to look at is how many people can we serve. And the dollars, the revenue is just another KPI that shows us how many people that we've been serving. But we really like to take that approach of, we're here to serve. If we take care of people, everything else takes care of itself.
Man, you're wise beyond your years, my man. That is awesome. We got to clip that, like more people, including myself. Like we need to keep our hearts and our minds and our eye on what's really the focus, right? And I know we get caught up in the dollars and comparing ourselves to others and things like that. We're all human, but having that core focus is, man, that's tremendous. I love that, man. That is so cool. So you've got 22 team members plus your subs, pretty fast growth over the last few years. How do you guys organize your team? Like that's a lot of people.
It is. And I kind of made the joke to some of our team members, like, 2 years ago, I didn't know what the word HR was.
Home run, baby, home run.
But, there's a lot of things that I've learned over the last couple of years. One of the things that's really been a big help to us, over the last year for sure, as our team has expanded and grown, is we implemented EOS. So we're an EOS company. We went all in on building that structure. What that did is it helped us clarify the different roles that are necessary. It helped us clarify the vision that we have for the company. And it just creates clarity throughout the company. And one of the things the way I picture our company is, we're in this big ship, this big boat. We're going down the river and we want everyone rowing in the right direction. And to do that, everyone has to know exactly what their roles are, what their responsibilities are, and they need to know where we're going and who they report to, who's working alongside them. So that's been a big help to us in building structure and building that clarity. I mean, we still, we're a young company. We're still not perfect. We're still figuring things out every single day, but that is what we strive for. And that is our target.
All right, brother, we are 11 years into Contractor Dynamics and we are still figuring it out. So it's a never ending, but hey, that's what we signed up for, right? Like that's what we love at our essence, solving problems, figuring things out, overcoming challenges, growing, learning, improving. I love that. Yeah, we're an EOS company as well. We try to be as pure as possible with EOS, and it's been almost 2 years for us. Not even 2 years. I feel like we've just grown tremendously, not really in terms of revenue, although that's been the case, but really like that role clarity, getting the right people in the right seats, the leadership, the vision, developing leaders within. It's awesome. So, I drink the Kool-Aid. I love it. We're going to the conference next month in April. Are you going out there?
I don't have a ticket yet. I've thought about it. I really need to make a decision one way or another on that. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's out in San Diego. So it's, obviously a big trip, and it's, it takes time and crossing time zones and all that stuff. But our whole leadership team is going. So we're excited about that. So for any of you guys out there, EOS Worldwide, Entrepreneurial Operating System is basically just a kind of paint by numbers way of running your business. It takes some of the thinking out of it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, like really good frameworks. And there's, tens of thousands of businesses that run on EOS. So you don't have to try to figure it all out on your own, which really helps because we got a lot to try to figure out as entrepreneurs. So that's really cool, man. I love to see that. All right, guys, just want to jump in here real quick. Hope you're enjoying the conversation with Galen Yoder here. He had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to use this opportunity to jump in and let you know how Contractor Dynamics can help you build out some of the same systems that Galen and his company have built out at RoofX that help them achieve the level of success so far. So Contractor Dynamics is a marketing, training, and business coaching company. So all we do all day, every day, is that we train roofing companies like RoofX and Galen's team on how to do their own marketing, how to create their own content, how to run their own marketing, how to optimize and track and measure everything, and how to build a lead handling, follow-up, and nurture sequence so that they have this marketing machine running in RoofX that produces leads and appointments and sales for them with consistency and predictability. So right now, our team at Contractor Dynamics is training Galen's in-house marketing team in person on how to run their own marketing. And Galen gets business coaching from our leadership and from our community at Contractor Dynamics. So if you guys are interested in building out a marketing machine inside your roofing company so you can build your brand, create roofs on demand, and create that consistency that you need to achieve your goals and to realize your vision, reach out to us at contractordynamics.com or click the link below this video or this audio to schedule a time to talk with one of us here at Contractor Dynamics, and we'll give you some guidance on how you can win with marketing just like Galen and his team at RoofX are doing. All right, Galen, I'm excited to have you on, man. This is awesome. We are very similar, even though I am a little bit older than you. We have very similar backgrounds and philosophies. And one of those is around like our geeking out over personal development in and of itself, and then also how that plays into business as well. So let's talk about that. What role does personal development play in your life? I know you talked about it a little bit before, getting us some Grant Cardone resources and books and content and things like that. So yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Personal development is such a huge part of my life. I was introduced to it when I was, 18, 19 years old, was kind of when I really first started, had that introduction to it. Never really took a lot of it seriously, in all honesty. Never took, didn't spend a lot of intentional time in it. It was more for the purpose of, I wanted to make money, I wanted to, be successful. That was kind of more the purpose of me getting into personal development at that age.
Okay, cool. And that has continued till today. What are some of the things that you do to define personal development? I mean, I'm sure there's definitions out there, but like what does that definition mean to you?
I mean, personal development to me is just the thing of constantly developing yourself every single day. And, kind of before we transition into the next part of it, so there was in March of 2019, and this is a story that I never really shared publicly I share a lot publicly with people. But in March 2019, I had a day that changed my life. I was coming home from a job, and I had a truck and a dump trailer. And I came around the curve and missed a stop sign, and it T-boned another car coming the other direction. In that accident, one of the people in the other car lost their lives due to that. And going through that time in my life was a day that really changed me. In the months and the weeks after that experience, that feeling, there was times where I felt worthless. I felt shame, for what happened, even though it was an accident. It was not, nothing intentional. It was an accident. But there was times where I asked God, why did you keep me alive? Why am I alive even today? Like, why couldn't you just, I was a split second from death. And, it just didn't seem fair that the other person had to die and I did. I had a realization one day, a couple months after, that it just hit me like God kept me alive for a bigger purpose. He has a reason that he kept me alive, and I have to live out that reason. Like, I have to find that reason. And it hit me one day, like, that reason is I'm here to make a difference in the world. I'm here to make a difference in other people's lives. And the only way that I can do that is by being the best version of myself every single day. So the meaning that personal development has to me is I have to be the best version of myself every single day, because God kept me on this earth for a reason. He has a purpose, and it's my duty to be the best version of myself so that I can change the lives of the people around me.
Wow. That's heavy. That must have been a very challenging time. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it definitely, was the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. But it was also the most pivotal point I've ever had in my life. And it's also the reason for the vision that we have for our company today. The reason that we want to grow to multiple locations and to, serving the amount of people that we do is not just because of the money. It's because of that. For me, it's that drive of changing as many lives as possible, impacting as many lives as possible. I'll be honest, it took me a long time to realize that I can use business as a vehicle. I was trying to figure out how I, thinking about going, do I need to go overseas on a mission field? Do I need to, how can I live out that purpose that God has for me? And I realized that it can be done right here, right in the things that I do every single day. And using this business as a vehicle for that is really what drives me, and is what drives my vision and gets me out of bed every single day.
Man, thank you so much for sharing. That is cool. I mean, it's extremely unfortunate that person lost their life in that accident. And I think this is an example of that saying that you probably heard from Ed Milet, or a version of it, that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And maybe that event happened for you, but more importantly, happened for you so that you can impact so many other lives. And that's really powerful stuff, man. Wow.
Yeah, and it really, going through that, it was one of the hardest things. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life, but it forced me. I had to develop myself personally to overcome that. Like, I had to do something to overcome that, and to take control of my mind, change my mindset, and just really dig into that and be intentional with personal development, because it took a stronger version of me than who I was before.
Wow, super insightful. So you mentioned that your mission, you have a responsibility, a duty was your word, to be the best version of yourself every day. What do you do in order to give yourself the best shot every day?
I think for myself, it all begins with mindset. It all begins with the thoughts that I have. Thinking is not something that just happens. It's something that you do. You're in control of each thought. So for me, it all begins with mindset. And the next thing that I really focus on is, just my personal processes. Being intentional every single day about developing myself personally, being intentional every day about how I could serve other people. And, it's one of those things, it's not always easy every day. Like, there's many days where I'm not always my best self, but the intention and the purpose behind it to do the best that I can is what really drives me.
Awesome. Mindset, personal processes. I love that. Thinking about how you can serve others. What are some of those personal processes? Do you have like a morning routine, evening routine, something like that, if you want to dig into the nuts and bolts of it?
Yeah. So some of my processes, I get very rigid on my morning routine. Like, I have, certain things that I do every morning, before I go into work or before I really start my day. That's really a big one. The things that happen throughout the day, we're not always in control of. There's a lot that goes on where we're not in control of. But one thing that I've really been trying to focus on recently is mastering the art of not letting the outside control me, but rather being dictated by what is going on inside of me. I can't control when something goes wrong on the outside. Like that's there's a lot that goes on that's out of my control. What I can control is in here. I can control how I respond. I can control how I react. I can control, something goes wrong. Am I going to get mad at someone, or am I going to, lead them to, learning a lesson, helping them work through it? But that is really a big thing. And it's something that it doesn't just happen naturally. It's something that you have to be very intentional about, is not letting the outside control you, but staying in control on the inside.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, respond, don't react. My buddy Derek Klein taught me that a few years ago, and I always think about that. Like we can react, but we can also maybe sometimes take a deep breath and respond in a way that's responsible. And we're not perfect. There's definitely times when I react instead of respond, and then kind of do a analysis of that in my head. I'm like, all right, I could have done that a little bit differently, or maybe I didn't have to yell at my kids or whatever it might be, and just, continually learn and improve. One of our core values.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, another one that I always teach each one of our, our team members that comes in, we are all in control of the results that we get. There's a process to how that stuff happens. Everything that we do begins with a thought. What we think about creates a feeling, it makes you feel a certain way. Based on the feeling that you have is what makes you take action. And based on the action you take is the results that you're going to get. So if you want to change your results, there's a process to doing that. It all begins by changing the way that you think. It all begins by that first thing, that it all starts with a thought. And that's going to create that, a lot of people get stuck in that vicious cycle where it's just negativity and they just go round and round in circles. But that's something that you can control, and that's a process that you can follow.
Man, I'm taking notes here. It's a masterclass. Thank you. Thoughts, feelings, actions, results. That's awesome. Do you have are there certain books that you kind of go back to over and over, certain resources that you like to revisit as kind of your core foundation for some of these things?
There's actually not, as far as a lot of these things that I was talking about today. Most of those things I've learned from my mindset coach, the person that I work with that's helping me with my mindset. He's taught me, a lot of these philosophies and these processes. That's really where a lot of that stuff comes from, is just getting around people who have that mindset.
Man, I love that. And kind of downloading that from them and learning that and continuing that process. And then sounds like you share that with your team as well, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we try and be pretty intentional about, weekly doing some kind, and I don't always lead it. I let other people lead it as well. But, we try and have a time of, personal growth moment in our company meetings or, our sales meetings. We try and get information like that in front of them at least once a week, if at all possible.
Fantastic. Are they open to that? Do they appreciate that? Because that's something that is not normal at any company.
Yeah, from the feedback that I get, it seems like everyone's, very appreciative. I mean, obviously you always have, one or two that kind of seem like they might be a little checked out during that time. But, for the most part, we really get awesome feedback from it.
Very cool. I agree, man. I encourage anyone out there, if you're in a leadership position, whatever position you're in, it doesn't matter. You don't have to own a company. Open up about some of this stuff, because it's interesting. Once you do, you find other people that you find pretty much everyone is opening up to this stuff, like having goals, having visions, having different mindset things that they're working on. And we try to do that, or we do that at Contractor Dynamics. Just this Monday, 2 days ago, Christina here on our team, she's one of our marketing trainers. She led our team call about manifesting and visualization, and everyone was loving it. And it's cool. And I think we all have a lot of those things that we really crave and we really love. And it's cool to be in a community of others that are all about those same things as well.
Yeah, it's awesome when you can be around like-minded individuals, because that's how we all get better. We can lift each other up. The environment that you're in is so important. That's why it's so important. If you want to stretch yourself, you need to get in environments of people that stretch you. What we want to create an environment for people to stretch themselves within RoofX. We want to help them, even if they don't believe in themselves, we want to believe in them, and we want to help them break through those limiting beliefs and show them what's possible in life.
I love that, man. We could jam on this for a long time. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2. But yeah, that is huge. The belief. Sometimes others believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And I've had people in my life. I do have people in my life that are currently play that role, whether they know it or not. And sometimes you have to borrow that belief from other people and instill it into yourself. So that's a really cool point that you just made. So yeah, we'll definitely have to do a part 2 of this, Galen. I'd love to dive more into the personal development, personal branding, the content that you're getting into, and the videos and everything that you're starting to shoot on a more regular basis. I love that stuff. We could talk about personal branding, business branding. I mean, there's different directions that we could definitely dive into. So as we wrap up, any parting advice for any leaders out there, any owners, anyone that's just looking to grow personally? I know you've shared a lot, but any nuggets that you didn't get to share that you want to make sure that you impart on our audience?
Yeah. So, I mean, probably the biggest thing that I would share with you, and this is a very simple thing, and I touched on it already, but it's something that is so easily missed, that we can never outperform our thinking. And it's something very simple, but it's something it's easy to do, but it's easy not to do. So you can never outperform your thinking. I mean, that's something that I just want to leave with everyone, is be in control of your thoughts. It's not something that just happens. It's something that you're in control of, and it's something that you can be very intentional about, and you can change your results.
Man, that is awesome. You can never outperform your thinking. I don't think I've ever heard it that way before. I think Ed Milet, again, talks about your belief lid, the lid that you have on your belief, your ceiling, your thermostat, right? What you set your thermostat at is where you're always going to come back to, unless you adjust your own internal thermostat. So yeah, thank you so much, Galen. I appreciate you coming out today, sharing some of your wisdom. And I appreciate the relationship that we have, both our business relationship and personal relationship. And you're one of those people in my circle, in my environment, that I look up to. So thank you so much for being you and for sharing that with our audience today.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the opportunity. Have a great rest of the day.
Man, Galen is a very wise leader, wise beyond his years, right? He's got so much to offer there in terms of the organizational structure, being intentional with everything, and his mindset, his desire to serve as many people as possible, and his commitment to personal development, not just for himself, but for their team at RoofX, and how that spills over into everything that they do. I feel fortunate that I had the opportunity to have Galen on the show today. I also feel fortunate to call him a friend and a client of Contractor Dynamics. And if you guys want, comment, send me a message. Let me know if you'd like to have him back on the show to dive into some more of those topics that we didn't get a chance to talk about today. But I hope you guys got some nuggets from that. And as I always say, it's cool to be able to listen or to watch some content, but nothing happens unless you take action on what you learned. So please take action on what you learned. Comment below, send me a message on Instagram at Hey Joseph Hughes. Let me know what you learned today, and let me know what kind of content you want, so that we can ultimately provide as much value and to serve you and as many people in our market as possible. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share the show. Please give us some love. Please spread the love, and we'll talk to you soon.